Live from the Dream Hotel in Hollywood, California, this is Lips LA on Dash Radio.
Hey guys, it's Scott Lips. Welcome to the show, Lip Service today. On today's show, we have Taryn Manning, an American actress and singer, starring in movies like 8 Mile, Hustle and Flow, and currently one of the stars of Orange is the New Black on Netflix, an amazing show. We're going to talk to Taryn about everything encompassing her acting career, her singing career, her being a DJ, an animal activist, and all kinds of things. So stay tuned in just one moment. We have coming up on the show Taryn Manning. And just as a reminder, the show is available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and all your other musical services. So do us a favor, download the show, rate the show, review the show. It's very helpful. And coming up in just one moment, Taryn Manning.
You're listening to Lips LA with Scott Lips.
So Taryn Manning in the house. We actually gave you an enormous welcome before and talked all about your illustrious career before you got here. So not to, but yeah, it was all really great stuff. And there's a lot to get into today, Taryn. So I wanted to kind of take it back to the beginning. So because you kind of run two parallel paths here, the acting, the music, the DJing. There's even like animal rights stuff we're going to get into, the dog stuff, because I'm a huge dog person too. So take me back to the very, very beginning, if you don't mind, because I think your path and your journey is pretty cool and pretty interesting.
Well,
and
which part about it that
like growing up to like landing all these major roles? We have Orange is the New Black. We have all the films you've done. You have new music dropping. So with kind of how you started, right? You grew up, as far as I know, in Virginia, right?
Yeah, I was born in Virginia,
which is awesome. Falls Church.
Falls Church.
Yeah,
correct.
And a musical family.
Yeah, musical family, more than actors or, my mother was a dancer, but yeah, no actors anywhere in sight.
And were you watching TV shows and movies as a kid and you were like, that's something I really want to do? Because I know I think your mom even enrolled you in like karate class from what I
was in martial arts and I excelled, and then I realized I was a very sore loser because I was number one in the state of Arizona 2 years in a row, and then I got second place and I quit.
Awesome. And you decided that wasn't for you, the karate.
But what the big lesson in that was, because this will trickle down to where I'm at, is that you can never sort of like when you're on top, you have to maintain, sometimes when you're doing really well, we tend to slack and we tend to get comfortable. And what that showed me was that I got too comfortable at a very young age. So I realized you can't do that. And the person that there's always somebody that wants it more than you do.
So at 12, you were not comfortable.
Hot
you
on
were
your heels.
Hungry.
8 years old. 8 to 10.
So you grew up in this musical family. You grew up pretty modestly, right? Talk a little bit about how you grew up. It was actually, because I think the whole story is quite interesting and inspiring for people because you've gone on to do so well. So talk a little bit about how you grew up and your surroundings and whatnot and where you came from.
Well, allegedly, meaning like, I don't know why these things happen, but I grew up modestly. That's a nice way to put it. Section 8 housing, what have you. I didn't know the difference.
That's like, is that trailers kind of Section 8 or is that?
Well, that was before we went to the mobile home park, but the government housing where they help you out and stuff. And, but like I said, I didn't know any different. There's kids playing, I went to school, my mom always provided an illusion that everything was A-okay. So I don't know that we grew up modestly, but
that was just normal to you growing up. Right?
Yeah. I wouldn't have it any other way. But I would find out later in life that she sacrificed pretty much everything because I just could not sit still.
And so you grew up, your brother was actually into music pretty early on too, right?
Yes, he was.
And so your brother's playing music. I believe your dad played music. So you kind of grew up all around music surrounding yourself. But when did you started to take shape, 10 or 12 or 14, you started watching a lot of TV and film, or was music something that you thought that you were going to get into primarily first when you were young? Yeah,
so my brother and I formed a band. I was 16. And my brother was 6 years older than me. So, he started to just, force me to sing. It's your brother. I'm like, I don't want to sing. He's like, just sing it. Sing these words right here. And then these melodies. And so I would just be like, you know what I mean? Just like, because it's my brother.
Yeah. And what kind of music were you guys listening to growing up? Was it Portishead?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. Portishead, Morchiba. We loved Massive Attack. We loved Oasis.
Cool.
We loved
Oasis.
Hole and Nirvana.
We love Oasis, yeah.
Yeah, just basically, we were called Cat at first, Kellen and Taryn.
Did you say Hole?
Hole,
Oh, that's the band that I I play with Courtney, which was when I first joined the band. Yeah, cool.
And like Smashing Pumpkins, and he wrote her next big
Yeah.
album. Well,
Yeah.
I guess her third album.
Yeah.
But we were just really kind of gnarly on, the grunge era.
Yeah, that's awesome.
My whole life changed when Nirvana came out.
Something I can relate to wholly.
Nice.
So you're playing music, and are you watching a lot of TV and film at a young age and thinking, this is something that I aspire to do?
I was watching like 90210 and MTV and
Okay.
all that, but no, I never thought about acting. I was singing and dancing. truly.
Remember when MTV used to actually play stuff, and it
do.
wasn't just it was actually music videos.
You hear it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
I
actually
remember that.
such
Kurt
a
Loder.
groundbreaking thing. Kurt Loder, I love Kurt Loder. So you start doing all that, and as a kid, you're working some odd jobs. You're waitressing. You're a barista, I believe, right? Any other weird jobs that you had growing up as a kid?
Not weird. I mean, I worked at Baskin Robbins. I excelled. I became the shift leader at
Nice,
a pretty young
nice.
age. I love to work. Like that was always sort of something that my mom told me to work at a young age. So I just got a job and made my own little side money, and that was something that was just a normal thing that would carry on to my my life today.
I don't think I could work in an ice cream store because I'd be eating that. Did you not eat it when you worked
Of course
there?
I did. Yeah,
all the time.
Remember the little pink spoons?
I love
Just
those
little
pink
tasters.
spoons. Cookies and cream. What was your
Cookies
flavor?
and cream, mint chocolate chip. I loved coffee ice cream.
So you end up like managing the store
Yeah,
at
I
that
could
point.
ice the cakes and write happy birthday.
Everything. Do you
Yeah,
remember?
Mom.
Do you remember Carvel? That was my jam growing up in New York.
Yeah, I was more West Coast though.
Okay.
So.
Do they have Carvel out here? I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
All right, so you're doing all that stuff. You're working these odd jobs, and music is something that was really true to your heart with your brother, right? And
Yeah.
so, at what point in time did you decide, hey, I want to start to really veer into acting too? Or was it like a parallel path simultaneously that you were doing both?
It's so hard to explain like how this happened. Basically, like I moved to Hollywood from Long Beach when I was 19, 18, almost 19, and I was going to like dance classes up here with all the different studios. I won't name them, but I just felt.
This was like late 90s, more or less?
Yeah,
Okay,
yep.
cool.
And I just felt like, I don't know, I just felt not completely satisfied. And I was like, you know what? I'm the, because I was like trying to become a backup dancer for different singers and this and that, which I got many, 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 parts in that. And then I'd be like on tour with one of them, one being this singer, Catalina.
Okay.
She's saying, I'm with the DJ.
Okay.
Remember her?
I'm not sure.
It's like, hey, Mr. Bouncer, I'm with the DJ.
We might
It's
have
like
to play that, though.
Yeah, Thump Records. So like I went on tour with her at a very young age. My mom was very cool about letting me out of school and stuff. So I did well in school, but I probably could have done better.
But you were taking acting classes, to be fair, when you were a kid, right?
At 13, I started
right.
taking acting class
Okay.
because some of the other girls at dance class did it.
Yeah,
I was kind of a poser.
And at that point in time, where you were like, "This is something I could see myself doing." Did you have a love and passion for acting?
I just wanted to fit in.
Yeah. So were you like the popular kid at school, or would you not?
Not really, no. I was just too busy all the time.
And now all those kids are like, I was like best friends with Taryn when I was a kid.
Yeah, they're like, I remember Taryn. Like,
Yeah.
she was always up to like something. Like, it's funny to hear about me from like different people's perspectives. I
Yeah.
mean, apparently people always say like they knew I was like I was bound for some type of weirdness.
I love that when you talk to people now, they're like, I always knew she was going to be a star, and then back then they never spoke to you or something. Right?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of that. I guess at Baskin Robbins, I would talk a lot about. What's funny is at 16, I would talk a lot about these commercials I was gonna do and these things, and like I don't know where I was pulling this information from, but I guess I was just dreaming these dreams, and then I would go on. I went to an amazing acting school, just so you know. Like from 13 to 19, I happened to happen upon one of the best acting teachers.
That wasn't in California, right?
No, it was in Burbank.
Okay, cool.
It was called The Shop.
Okay.
And, this place would turn out people like Kirsten Dunst and Lily Sobieski and Erica Christensen and Rachel Wood. And we were all just young
A couple of
girls.
people that didn't do well.
Yeah, they just didn't
Yeah.
do well at all,
Yeah.
just a few superstars.
Yeah.
But very quality actresses and actors. We're actors, by the way. Apparently we're not actresses, we're actors.
Actors, right.
So, these females that I worked alongside with all the time would turn out to be, working actors. But my acting teacher told me I sucked all the
Really?
time. Yeah, you
Nothing like a
suck.
little encouragement to
Right?
really help you along there.
Just like burn that fire in me. So I had always had a competitive side. And so I just kept, working towards it. So when he told me that I sucked at like 16 or 17, that just made me like go harder at it. So at 19, he told me like, okay, you're ready.
Were you working a job then in Long Beach when you moved out here and you were going to school in Burbank?
Yeah, I was working at Tony and Guy.
Okay, cool.
As a receptionist.
That's I love hearing these stories like
fired.
that. You were fired for what? What were you fired?
Because my till would always come up like short, like or over, like but like by 7 cents, and I just couldn't ever get it right. You
That's
know?
back when people cared about change. No one even cares change
like,
anymore. What's
ridiculous.
change?
Yeah, so I was embarrassed, but they let me go. But it just pushed me closer into Hollywood, I guess.
So you're taking classes, and I think the really interesting thing is like, listen, I thought about it the other day. I don't even know if there's 2 million people that are trying to act in LA, but there's got to be at least at the very minimum hundreds of thousands, right? Mm-hmm. And the fact that you were able to secure all these great roles, we'll get into Hustle and Flow and 8 Mile, and obviously the new and Orange is the New Black that you've been in for 6 years now, I believe.
Yeah, 7.
7 years, but
7 seasons.
But the process, right, of you being a kid going to school out here, you're taking classes. Your teacher's like, "Hey, you're not great. You need to work in your craft."
I didn't know anybody,
So talk about how did it happen? Because I think that's what's so interesting. I mean,
because I do get cornered often, and I think this is important. If there's anybody is there other actors that watch this show that want to know how to make it? Yeah. All right, so I don't know. First of all. I have no idea how you make it, okay? All I can tell you is the way I did it. And it's so grassroots from the bottom up, okay? Like, meaning I don't know anybody. I don't care about CAA, William Morris, UTA. These names to me are just like one day.
Right.
But if you meet kids nowadays, and when I say kids, I mean like anyone from like, let's say 21 under, like very entitled, okay? Meaning.
No question.
I don't know what that's about, but like they don't have any interest in my journey because they want to be right up there with CAA. And I just have to tell you something. They're all going public soon. No one gives a crap. Like they don't care about you. They care about the bottom line. Like you want an agent that actually gives a damn about you within any agency here in this town.
Definitely.
They all get the same breakdowns. They all get the same information. And it's just a matter of you going in there and doing what you do. And pretty much there's probably already an offer out.
Yeah, and I want to talk about how you actually landed a manager or agent, and because that's all interesting stuff. So you start auditioning early on, and I think it was more like the late '90s. You start landing some smaller roles, right?
Well,
NYPD Blue and
first
Boston
of all,
Public.
there's a bookstore called Samuel French.
Okay.
I think it's very important that we go back to the grassroots of like learning about acting and how to get an agent and how to go to Samuel French and go stay all day in that bookstore. And just become enriched by all the intel that you're going to get about how much
the business.
It sucks.
Yeah.
To be an actor.
So did you actually, were you in that bookstore all day? And just
all day, every day.
Really? And so what books were you reading interesting enough to know about that?
Well, I mean, pretty much you could find any book on my shelf, like how to get an agent, how to make it, but all the while I was taking classes, like you couldn't find me really enriching myself in playwrights as much because no one cares here in LA.
Right.
If you're in New York,
it's all about New York.
And I'm not putting down the craft of, of acting. I believe so much in the craft of acting and how much you have to respect it. I just don't think that anybody cares about the history of acting.
Right.
Let me know when they do, because then we can talk about that.
Yeah.
It's very hard to make it, and I have no idea how I did it, except for probably because I'm not the cookie cutter, person, and I don't really know how much to tell you that you can make it if you just don't care.
Well, it's also a lot of hard work now,
care.
and I feel like there is a bit of entitlement now where people probably don't want to put the work into it, right?
No, they put the work in, these kids. No, they put the work in. They think that the acting class is just going to take them to the top, but it's really like you don't have to whiten your teeth every day. You don't have to get fake lips. You don't have to put hair extensions in. Actually, be as ugly as you can be.
Right, yeah.
I guarantee you that's going to open the door quicker.
Right.
More quickly.
So you're out here and you're doing all that stuff, and I guess you care, but you didn't care in a sense because you were just.
But I didn't know I didn't care.
Right.
I was just very much me, without any type of anybody in my head or anybody, any Kardashians in a sense.
Right.
Meaning love them, love what they've done, but there wasn't a prototype to a female that I thought I had to live up to.
Yeah, who were the actors that you were? I mean, there had to be a few that you were like.
That's a great question. I loved people such as Jodie Foster.
Yeah, great.
Molly Ringwald. Let's talk about Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Yeah.
Meg Ryan. You know, people that weren't, you know, let's say drop dead babes, but just that left me with an impression.
And also great actresses too.
Oh yeah, and they're great actors.
Definitely. So at what point in time did you kind of think, well, this is starting to become a thing? I'm auditioning. I'm starting to get a few roles here. Because I feel like from what I understand, NYPD Blue and Boston Public were some of the early ones.
That was
right?
my first one.
The first one. So like, how did that feel? What was that process like? What happened? Tell us the story. Because I think it's...
I got Boston Public and I got a guest starring role and I thought I was rich.
Okay.
So I quit my job.
what kind of money do you make when you first role in the...
Well, it's called Top of Show.
Okay.
And I think it was a whopping $5,000 something dollars. By the way.
Per show.
Lots of money to me.
Was that per show?
Per guest star.
Per guest star, okay.
I just got one part.
Okay. Kind of a lot of money though when your first role.
I quit my job. I was like, I made it. But nobody had taught me about agent fees, manager fees, and taxes.
You got like $500 when I was...
pretty much got like $1,000.
Right.
And I cried and cried and cried. Mom, you wouldn't believe this. And I cried. And then I had quit my job. So I had to go back and get another job because it took a long time to get the next part.
So for people that don't know, you get your fee, but then there's all these people around you that take a percentage. So you have your agent, you have your manager in some cases. And by the end, that $5,000 comes to be not too much money.
It dwindles down.
So you get that, and then eventually you're like, wow, but this is something that I think, I feel like this is starting to happen for me, right?
And it's just a lot of fun at that point.
Yeah.
Like, I just go in there, and then I get the part, and this thing happens. So then it just becomes, like, just fun, and again, like, there's just no, how do you, like, say, there was no pressure on it.
No pressure.
Yeah, because I was a ballerina, and, like, if you can get away from that type of pressure, and, like, this is fun, and the money's coming in, then it just became about just a competitive, and that's the thing is I come from a place of competition because of martial arts.
Right.
So, but I do say that go into those rooms with a competitive spirit, even though you're not going to look like her, him. It has to be that fighting side to you, like a
fire
within you. That's like there's no one else for the job but me.
And in 2002, you're also starting to kind of write music with your brother. So there is sort of a parallel path that you're running, and you end up.
I get fired from a movie.
What's that?
I got fired from.
So that wasn't because you did land a role with Britney Spears. We should talk about that.
But
that was like
before.
Before. Okay. So what movie did you get fired from, and why did you get fired? More importantly,
I got fired because the production got more money in the film, and they wanted bigger names.
So you're filming this movie. What movie was it?
It wasn't filming yet, but I was in dance. I was playing a ballerina, so I got like the ultimate role.
Okay.
I was already in rehearsals and already done costumes, and I was in it, and I was in it with Jenna Malone, who's an amazing actor. We were playing best friends, and
this is before 2002. This is your first major movie.
19, almost 20.
Okay.
Very, before, and I was making it's called Schedule F.
Okay.
It's a lot
which
of
is
money.
like scale or whatever it may be, right?
I mean, when you're like almost 20, I was like, oh, I'm rich. And so I was making, this money, and like I was working with Marguerite Derricks, huge choreographer, and I'd earned this role, and I just couldn't believe it. I was so pumped. And
then you get a call, and they say, you know what, you're off the film.
Yeah, and it was like the most harsh call I'd ever gotten. They hung up basically. My manager at the time tried to call back. They didn't take his call. And they let me go. And they wanted their girls from Roswell. Roswell was a big TV show at the time.
So around 2002, you actually got a manager or an agent.
I had a manager at that time.
And that's because you had done a couple of guest
But that's how I started. So that's how I started making music. So they fired me. I was devastated. You'd think that someone died in my apartment. There was flowers everywhere.
Wow.
Because, it was a big deal. Of
course.
I was going to play prima ballerina in a movie, playing an actor. Acting in a movie, playing a ballerina, I meant. And so after that, I was like, screw acting, screw dancing, and someone had just bought me a guitar.
And then you're like, I'm going to go to this path.
And I started writing like sad poems about being fired on my guitar.
And listening to Portishead and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that's sort of how the music really began. It was like from this tragedy.
Because your brother had already started a band, right? And so you guys started...
we started a band, but
together.
I didn't care, remember?
Yeah.
He was my brother. I was like, leave me alone.
So ultimately, then this sort of it's a parallel path. In 2002, you land this major movie with Britney Spears, right?
I actually did Crazy Beautiful first.
Okay.
And then I did Crossroads, and I did 8 Mile.
So when you land Crossroads or you land 8 Mile, more importantly, right? Because that was definitely one of your breakthrough roles. Like, how did it feel? How did it feel when you met Eminem the first time? Because I look at that as definitely one of the milestones of your acting career.
Both of those were important to me because I got those back to back, and what I thought were very cool about each was that both of those artists had a hand in casting, and they both chose me. And I just felt like I was in that world. Like I was a singer, really.
Yeah, you played Eminem's girlfriend in the movie, right?
Yeah, I did, and then he put a song of mine on the soundtrack.
Amazing.
He loved our music.
And what was it like when you met him for the first time? You were a fan, obviously, and so were you nervous?
It was tough because his security wouldn't let me talk to him, and I was like, "I'm playing Janine in the movie." Yeah, and then they were like, "Oh shit," and then they let me talk to him.
And when you finally met him, he was cool. And
so funny.
Awesome.
He was hilarious.
I do want to jump to one of your songs because I actually have a song dropping on Friday.
Oh, sure.
So we're going to talk about your whole musical career. But why don't we play the song? Because tell us a little bit about the song. It's Bring Me Back to You. So it's dropping this Friday when the show airs.
Yeah. This song is a song that I wrote. I got much into just songwriting and collabing with different DJs and producers. So I wrote this one. It's a love song. It's about love. So
cool. Bring Me Back to You. We'll be right back in 1 second with Taryn Manning. You're listening to Lip Service on Dash Radio.
This is Lips LA on Dash Radio.
Hey guys, we're back. You're listening to Scott Lips. We are with Taryn Manning, and we were just listening to Bring Me Back to You. Awesome song. So dropping this Friday, which is awesome. So I want to get into the whole musical career stuff. But again, going back to 8 Mile for a second there. So you met Eminem. It was great. And then your next big role was definitely Hustle and Flow, I think. So talk a little bit about that because you were also nominated for that for Best Breakthrough Performance.
That was that was just what happened was another actress got offered that role, and because it took so long to finance the movie, that by the time that they financed it, she was getting married, and she didn't.
Can you say who it was or no?
It was Rachel Lee Cook.
Okay.
And she didn't want to play a prostitute. And so I was like the hand-me-down. I got the hand-me-downs, which I'm pretty, infamous to get. Yeah. I like those.
You've definitely played some sort of, I guess one could say, controversial roles, right? Do you have, when you take on roles, are there ever roles that you turn down?
Yeah, I've turned down roles.
I've heard that you discuss stuff with your mom, right? Or your family?
Yeah, I used to discuss stuff with my mom, yeah.
So you call your mom, you're like, hey, Mom, this role is I got to play a prostitute. Are you okay with it? Or you just go forward with it?
I would ask her always.
Yeah. Was there any roles that she was like, you were definitely not doing that?
She tried.
Yeah?
I said no.
Is there anything that you turned down that you kind of wish later on that you did?
Yeah, but I can't say.
You can't say?
No.
It's just between us and the radio audience.
Some stupid moves, but you know, youth is wasted on the young.
And sometimes you don't really know, right? You turn something down and you don't know it's going to be.
I just was like, I don't want to play that anymore. I've played that. But you know what? When I tried to go against my stereotype or my that whole thing, I didn't work.
Yeah.
And the thing is I need to make a living, and I love what I do. But yeah, I mean, just trying to find different ways to play the same character again and again, it can be a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, definitely. And there's also some other great TV roles you landed after that. Sons of Anarchy. What was that like?
That was really, really cool. Yeah, That was awesome. I just worked with Mark Boone, who was in that with me in Virginia.
Awesome.
So yeah, I really love that show. It was tough. It was a very much male-driven show. And
a lot of beards.
A lot of beards.
A lot of motorcycles. And what's the auditioning process like for that? At this point, you've got a couple major movies under your belt. You've been nominated, a couple hit movies, right? And you're no longer like new to acting. You definitely got a great name. So talk about the auditioning process. Do you have to go audition for that? Do they just call you? Do you audition now? I think the whole process of like going from A to Z and how you sort of made it is always interesting to people. So
I feel like it would be a lie to say that I do audition. Don't audition. I do. And the reason why I audition is because I could just sit around and wait for the offers to come in, which, they're going to come in. They're going to be these certain types of films or parts like I just played. Or I can go and fight to get one of the good roles, because what happens when you start to make it, if you will make it,
right.
You go into the next, you go into the next level. So it's like it's a video game. Next,
right.
In the next level, you got that group of gals, if you will. Then the next level, you got that. So you're just still fighting all the way until you die.
So even today you audition for stuff because you feel it's better to get in the room with the director and really show face, right?
Yeah, I just feel like sometimes the director will be like, well, let me see how she could play this different than the last. Or let me see how Taryn thinks she can be from 1862.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? I can be 1862.
You can do it all. So 2013 comes around. You get a call to do this new show on Netflix.
Yes.
Orange is the New Black. And when you first read the script, we were like, I get to play an inmate. I get my teeth knocked out. I mean, were you like, this is great? Or you're like, this script is a little bit, I'm not sure about it. What were your thoughts on it?
All the while you're acting, life goes on.
Yeah.
And there's my life and there's my acting life.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm living.
Day to
Things
day.
happen. Taryn gets in trouble.
Yeah.
She goes to jail.
Yeah. Taryn, meaning you go to jail.
Taryn
Yeah.
goes to jail.
You want to talk about that, or is that not something we want to leave out?
You can look it up.
Okay.
And then
We'll leave that out. Okay.
it's out there.
So it's basically
And then that
art.
happens.
It's like art imitating life in a sense, right?
So I had so then what happens is like I can't get a job to save my life. And that was a terrible time. That was actually a terrible time.
And that was what, 2011 or 12
no,
or
that'd
so?
be right 2013.
Oh, right around when this offer came and this role came around.
Yeah, so then
Yeah.
I get this offer to play this funky character on a new platform called Netflix streaming.
Right. Which at the time it wasn't like a big thing. It was like
Yeah. Well, I knew about Genji Cohan, I knew about Weeds, and she was gonna do this new show. I read the part. It was only like 2 lines in one episode, by the way. Just
really?
one. I was like,
and this was also because we should say that there were already like 5 or 6 episodes into it
Right.
when you started, right? You didn't. It wasn't the first episode.
no.
Yeah.
And I was just meant to come in and bounce out. And because of how hard it was to get a job, I'm like, okay, I'll do it. Yes, please. Because I couldn't, I
Right,
couldn't
you
get a
wanted-
job because of, some stupid
Yeah.
personal stuff. So it turned out really well for me. I took the job and just had a blast.
So the character's named Tiffany Pennsatucky Dog. Yeah, actually a lot of nicknames, right? So
Yeah.
what are all the nicknames that Tiffany has?
So there's Pennsatucky, Tiffany, Doggett. Let's see. I mean, there's so many. There's like,
What do all the nicknames mean, by the way?
well, there's so many nicknames
Yeah.
in prison.
That's just how
have
it
you
is.
ever been?
I've never been to prison. No, I'm actually scared to go to prison.
Each that was actually really, really hard because each person, there was the actor and then there was her name.
Right.
There was the actor's first name, last name, and then the character's first name, last name. There were so many.
So many nicknames.
So it was so hard to like kind of get to know or to know who everybody was.
So were you nervous because it's already that show had already been set up at that point, and Netflix still wasn't like nearly as big as it is now. But it's the 6th or 7th episode, and you come in on that episode. So were you sort of nervous to meet the cast, and this show had already started taking off?
Yeah, I definitely. I always say, my character was a bigot. She came in just anti-gay, racist, just a real piece of work, and people really thought that was me, like
Right.
that was who I was.
People would come up to you in the street and be like, "Hey, you're
wouldn't
Tiffany,
No,
right?"
they wouldn't come up to me.
They wouldn't come up to you. They
No, there
would
was
run
no
away.
love. Yeah, there was no love. And even the girls on set were like, "Who's that girl? Like, she's like not very nice. Like but let's not talk to her."
And
It
talk
was
about
tough.
you also you had to wear these prosthetic teeth, right? And so what was that hard? Was that a hard thing to?
It was tough and
Yeah.
everything, but then you just get into it and then you just get lost in it.
Hard to eat like that with those
Yeah.
teeth? Yeah.
Not many lunches I had because it would like chip off into the mashed potatoes.
That's amazing. So the final season of Orange is the New Black premieres July 26th. Anything, obviously you can't tell us anything like any secrets, but just kind of love to know about sort of the evolution of your character and all that kind of stuff and where the season's at, because this is the final season, is it not?
It is,
Yeah.
yes.
So what can we talk about shooting the final season, what the fans will think of the final season, all that kind of stuff?
For people that follow this show, I think that they'll be pleased with the way that, we wrap it up and sort of just all the arcs. I mean, they all really come to fruition in such an aggressive way.
Sometimes when you watch did you watch Game of Thrones? Did you watch the
Yeah.
final episode? So, because I actually, to be quite frank, I didn't watch the first 7 seasons, and then I did a little like YouTube tutorial thing because I just didn't have like
That's
80.
rude.
I know I didn't have 85 hours to watch TV, so I was like, let me watch that. Someone said to me, you can go on YouTube and there's like an hour tutorial. There were so many kings and queens. I couldn't keep up with what the hell was going on, but I felt very vested on the 8th season because I did a little bit of homework.
So you wouldn't know then how it made you feel truly.
I wouldn't know, but I watched enough to feel like I knew what was going on. It was very confusing.
How did you feel?
Well, at the end of I think there was a sort of an uproar because at the end, right, it's like the thing is finally done, and there's so many people that had different opinions on how it ended. Yeah. I mean, I didn't love the ending from what I saw, but I don't know. What did you think, by the way? Because that's a show that had a similar arc, right? It was like the 8th season, and people were sort of in an uproar at the end by the way it ended. So are you sort of, how do you feel about? Do you know how the ending to your show? I mean, did they tell you?
You did the cliff note, so it's like I could see how that wasn't, very, it
I'm just
really
being
impact.
I'm being
you.
transparent. Other people were like crying, and I was like, I'm not gonna cry because I'm not as vested as you.
For
but.
true diehard fans of Orange Is the New Black, I do know that they're going to be devastated by just the season ending.
Right.
And all the different things that the characters go through. It's quite profound. It's devastating. It's interesting. It's beautiful. It's freedom. It's not freedom. It's everything.
Everything.
It's awesome.
And you actually have an original song that's in one of the episodes, right? Can we talk about that?
Apparently, yeah. The last episode.
Cool. Well, the last time that happened, that was like 8 Mile. You had a song in that too, right?
The last time.
No, but I mean, you also had something in 8 Mile which did incredibly well. So this is also like
it's one of those monumental moments in my career because it was just so genuine that I'd sent the creators a song to just say thank you for my role, and I said I wrote a tribute to Pennsatucky, which is my character's name, and they took to it in a way that I never ever expected. And that's also goes back to my point about life is that in acting is that when you release all sort of control over everything, like whether you love your boyfriend, your girlfriend, or you want this career so bad, like the minute you sort of just like do things
and let go
and from your heart and not in a place of any type of agenda or calculating, these are when the gifts come, and it just keeps showing me that. And I didn't have any type of agenda when I sent it. It was truly to be like, thank you guys so much, because I was a bit of a handful.
Definitely.
Well, we all are. We're women. It's 7 years. It's in a very interesting setting, and sometimes there's good days and there's bad days.
What's the name of the song that's in the episode?
It's called Chains.
Change. Okay. And can you talk about the process or what it was like to sort of write that song?
Yeah, I wrote this song one fine day when I was having an anxiety attack, and it just sort of started singing it out of my mouth, and it sort of helped me like get through an anxiety attack. It was nothing more, and I was like channeling my character.
I was going to say it was inspired by the show, right? Which makes
100%.
it.
I think I was like on my way to set, and I was nervous about a scene.
That's cool. Well, I definitely want to find out what happens, but also there's a lot going on. So you actually just finished The Gateway, right? Let's talk about that new project you have coming out.
Yeah, I was just talking about that earlier. I went to Virginia, which was where I was born.
Cool.
That was cool. Just a small role, but in a very poignant film. I got to work with Bruce Dern and
Olivia Munn, right?
And Olivia Munn. I did not get to work with her, but she's in the film.
Right.
I think it's going to turn out well.
And that comes out this year too?
It does.
Awesome. That's great. So at the same time...
maybe next year, actually.
Maybe next year. Okay. Well, around the same time you're starting to land some great roles, you're also doing music. So I want to delve a little bit into the musical side of things because like me, you do a lot of things, right? You also DJ. Is it just, you just go by your name when you DJ too, right? Because I was on your Instagram the other day. I saw you were just DJing a gig somewhere, right? Where were you?
I went to Clearwater, Florida.
Cool. Yeah. So how often are you DJing, by the way? Is that like?
I like to DJ as much as I can. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Is it house? Is it, what kind of music are you DJing?
Yeah, house music and, just basically open format dance music and.
Cool. So I feel like dance music is always something you've always been really into, right?
Yeah.
So in 2003, you and your brother formed this band, Boomkat. Around the same time, you're starting to land all these acting roles. And at a certain point where you're like, I have to choose acting or music, or were you just like, I'm going to do both? Because in LA, you can do a lot of things at once, and people. I
had to choose.
You did, okay.
Yeah.
But were you more passionate about one or the other?
I chose music at the time.
You did, okay.
And that was after I had done a couple of movies, and I mean, I got signed to a huge record deal with Robbie Robertson of the band to DreamWorks with my brother, and we got a bunch of money put into us, and I mean.
Initially, it was because I read somewhere that Randy Jackson, who I know super well, he was on this show
We
not
did
long
a demo
ago.
deal with him.
Yeah, so that's kind of where it started, right? So you and your brother start writing music. Randy comes into play, and then Randy and I live in the same place, so I see him quite frequently. Yeah, he's great. And the music was almost like dark and brooding initially, right? Where now you kind of veered a little more into like the dance music side. I'd say Portishead, but along the lines of that kind of electronic, a little bit more.
My brother and I's music was actually pretty rap. We were like the Beastie Boys, but
Yeah?
a girl and boy duo.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
And that was sort of like we did our MCA demo deal, and then we did when we got signed. When you get signed, though all of our songs were done, and by the way, most of them were done on a PlayStation music generator.
Amazing.
Yeah, because
I think you're the first artist I've ever interviewed that's done music on that.
Yeah, so my brother like rented this game one fine day and never returned it, and it simulated Pro Tools.
Wow.
And so he wrote most of our album on this video game, and so when we went to the studio, he actually brought the PlayStation.
Amazing.
And
I
then,
didn't know that you could write music on a PlayStation.
Well, it was like it simulated Pro Tools, so he had to build the notes and the. My brother's pretty much a genius.
So was it a full band at that point, or was it just the two of you guys? Him and you. Okay. Yeah. And you actually had the song that was like #1 on the Hot Dance Music charts, which is amazing.
Yeah, The Reckoning.
And so talk about like your latest single, The Light, and everything, because we want to play another song of yours for a second.
So then life goes on, and Boomkat and DreamWorks actually fell through, and the bands got upstream to either Interscope or what have you, and Kellen and I. We parted ways as a band, and
still close with your brother.
Course,
Just hard. It's hard to be in a band. People don't know how hard it is to be in a band.
It's very tough, especially when like someone's still kind of stuck in that being me or him. Just the what ifs. There's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of like what you did wrong, I did wrong. But that's something that you'll learn in life. Like you need to just let all those types of things go and just move forward. So I've just moved forward and just because there was a time I only wrote with my brother. That's it. He was the end all be all to my music. My brother is the only person I'll sing his lyrics that he writes me.
Amazing.
Because he knows me.
Was there like musical differences? Did you start going in a direction, or you guys were always on the same page musically? I always loved what he wrote, but I don't know if he was just being a hater because it wasn't his music. But it was tough to convince him on any music I didn't do with him. Wow, okay. That's always tough, right? The songwriting process is really where it all starts.
My older brother, though, so it's like, but then there's a few that he'd be super proud of, and there's nothing like getting like a good job from your older brother. It's awesome. And fast forward now, I would say you're solo, right? So you don't have the band, and I want to actually play Glitch Life. Nice. So you want to talk about a little bit about the song? My brother loves that song.
He loves that song. Okay, so your brother's favorite song, and kind of just wrapping up here, like let's talk about the song and let's just sort of where you're at musically now. Okay. We already talked about what's going on with the acting stuff, and the last thing I want to talk to you about is your love for animals. So really quickly, Glitch Life, what's it about, and then we'll go play it in a second.
Glitch Life is about this the title does. I never say the word Glitch Life in the actual title, which I always wanted to do is name a song with something that isn't in the song. Glitch Life is just about just the malfunctions of life, just the glitchy part of life. The song is about, it's a love song, basically like you never know what you have until it's gone. Awesome. Well, let's jump to Glitch Life. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about your love for dogs, and we're going to wrap it up with Taryn Manning.
You're listening to Lips LA with Scott Lips.
All right, we're back, guys. Taryn Manning. Taryn, last thing I want to ask you, your love for animals. I love animals. You rescue a lot of senior dogs, right? Yeah. You have 3 dogs?
I do.
Awesome. Talk about that for 1 sec, just because I can really relate to that. We actually have a dog in the studio today. Jen's dog. There we go.
A rescue.
You do a lot of work with animals, don't you?
Yes. I do as much as I can. I have 2 rescues. Well, I have 3 rescues, a cat and 2 dogs. And my very first dog, I wish I could rescue so many more and foster them. Basically, I think my newest crusade is to try to just speak on like how important it is to spay and neuter. Yeah. When you really look at the problem in the genesis of the problem is just the lack of knowledge people have on how important it is to spay and neuter, and that cats are becoming deemed by the government as feral. Like basically they might as well be like roaches or rats.
Yeah.
That's not good. So, one male cat can go impregnate about 8 female cats in one night. And then again and again and again.
Crazy.
And
I didn't even know that.
Each female cat can have anywhere from 3 cats to about 12, you guys. So it's like, if we can just start with, and to educate people on how inexpensive it is to spay and neuter, that right there would stop so much of the problem of how many Chihuahuas and pit bulls and cats there are at these rescues. And also, I want to talk about that. I know that many people want like a designer dog. You want like a French bulldog. You want a Yorkie. You want a Maltese. These types of dogs are also at the kill shelters, and they also need homes. So I do not promote breeders. I don't promote breeding of animals.
Is there a website that people can go to that you, like a charity that you are really aligned with for animals?
Oh yeah, I mean there's Best Friends, and then I kind of go more localized into the desert where I live in Palm Springs. You could go to there's just so many. I'll give you a bunch of names of them, but
well, definitely we'll put that up. But listen, it was a pleasure to have you here. Wrapping up Orange is the New Black. Check out Taryn. Check out the new music. Check out the new film coming out. We really appreciate it. It's been a blast.
Thank you so much.
And we appreciate you come hanging out for an hour with us.
Yes.
Thanks, Taryn.
This is Lips LA on Dash Radio.